Welcome to the Comix Corner Podcast with B-Lar and Danny P.
Hey, everybody.
We are brought to you by the CLZ app and are part of the SPDM Podcast Crew. Check out spdmcrew.com for a wide range of podcasts from our fellow crew members. The new year is upon us, and to go along with the old saying, New Year, New Me, we're going to discuss retcons that we like, discuss what we've been reading, and what we're looking forward to for today, January 8th. The new ones to be on the lookout for, and the books that are coming in. Danny, how's it going?
How you doing, sir? Great this week. We got a Lions win. We get a week off, and hopefully 2 victories on our way to the Super Bowl. So we shall see.
The city of Detroit will be going nuts, but we should have 2 home games here in Detroit, and then on our way to New Orleans.
Yes, sir.
So, how things looking books wise this week? We got things worked out.
Stuff. Yeah, slowly Diamond gets things better. I think it's going to take a couple more weeks for them to figure it out. In fact, you and I were talking before the show, when our book's coming out this week, we always get the lunar stuff, but I'm hoping that this week Diamond they'll be a little bit later on Wednesday, but we should at least see them. But and as I get so nervous being the store owner, I just look around and there's so many great reads though, even with us missing some stuff. So I got some stuff from last week that I grabbed, and I loved Deadpool Wolverine. The movie I thought was fantastic, and this is Benjamin Percy brings his own vibe into it, but it felt like a great continuation of almost of the movie. It had kind of the same kind of humor between them and everything, and the art's just fantastic and very cool kind of mystery that Deadpool's mind controlled from somebody, and we're going to find out who, and I found that one really cool. That was a great start. I checked out Justice League, the Atom Project from Ryan Parrott. That was a lot of interesting characters. You got the 2 Atoms, and you had Captain Atom himself and Dr. Light, and they've been pretty much put on another mission from the Justice League to find these people who've had powers that didn't want powers from the whole absolute power situation. And that was a great read as well. Just both of these had a very cool, buddy movie vibe to them, and just okay. A lot going on with the Justice League.
So it seems like they're going to do Challengers of the Unknown. They're dealing with the dark side effects from it, and now the Atom Project, they're dealing with the absolute power fallout where the powers get pushed back to people.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So, cool. It was pretty cool. Yeah, they had this one where they had to help a kid out who all of a sudden had powers and get his energy and everything. So it was a great start. I like that quite a bit, and I like when they use more of the unique characters. It doesn't always have to be Batman, so it was cool to see a couple of the B-listers in there this time around. And
definitely.
And then totally different from American Mythology Productions. Return of the Living Dead is still one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I watch it every July 3rd there before in the anniversary of it. But kind of the same idea. Just they have it this time around that the barrels that cause the mayhem end up at a theme park because the person always wants everything to be authentic, and they break open again, and we need a whole bunch of new victims and a final girl. And if you like the movie, you'll definitely love that. And Mark Spears is doing the A covers, and his art's just the bee's knees. And the last one can be a weekly one, which I love. The first one this week's going to be Gambit, but the first, What If Galactus Transformed Hulk? So it was just sweet seeing him having different heralds. And I love when they do, the Hulk is, at his wit's end. He doesn't want to be alive anymore during like kind of the metamorpho stage, and it's kind of that when he becomes this herald, and it's just a really good read. But that's everything I grabbed this week. What did you get to check out?
Do you need an easy way to catalog your comics? Try the CLZ app. You can scan a barcode with the built-in camera scanner with a 99% success rate. You can find the series by title, or you could search a specific issue by title and issue number. Or the latest feature, you can scan the cover with your camera. That's right, folks, you heard me correctly. All you need to do is aim the camera from your cell phone at the comic book, and it will scan the cover and input the information right into your database. The CLZ Core Online Comic Database automatically provides cover art and full comic details like series, issue number, publisher, plot, creator list, character list. The details go on and on. It will automatically provide key comic information like first appearances, deaths, cameo appearances, iconic covers, and origins. You can edit these details from the CLZ Core, like the series issue number and variant description, and add personal details like storage box location, comic book grade, purchase date, and prices. You're able to try the CLZ app for free for 7 days. After that, it's just $1.99 a month or $19.99 a year. That's right, folks. Free for 7 days as you catalog your books using one of the 4 ways to input your information. You can download the CLZ app anywhere you get your applications. The CLZ app is a proud sponsor of the Comix Corner Podcast with B-Lar and Danny P. And now back to the podcast. I was reading JSA number 3. It's a look into Carter Hall, basically a Carter Hall forward issue. And it's a carryover from the Hawkman that Robert Venditti did with Brian Hitch, that series. I think it was about 28 issues. And what they resolved with that was he's got one more life to live, and that's it. So if he dies, he's done. So really cool. They've got him trapped inside the House of Secrets, or with Fate, or Fate's Tower. Sorry. And, it's like, hey, they've got him trapped and they were getting ready to kill him. So we'll see what happens from there. It was good to see some of the other characters too developing. Khalid, Dr. Fate, he's gaining some confidence. And Kid Eternity shows up at the end. This one, going to be a spoiler alert, but and I've tried not to give away too much stuff on things, but this one I got to say, Batman 156, the final panel, one of the Riddler's Riddler's riddles cluing in onto something is Commander Starr is actually the KG Beast. And that was a little bit of a mind-blowing thing. Basically, Russians have gotten involved. They've took over the Court of Owls. They were working with Nigma, who used Mad Hatter's technology to make James Gordon kill Mayor Nakano. And they now have stole some technology, and Commander Starr is there telling people to fight, and it's actually KG Beast. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because Batman's still after him from back when he shot Nightwing in Nightwing 50. So then the last one I've been reading, and I kind of been pushing this one for my reasons, but Moon is following us, number 4. The parents, they're close to saving their daughter. Their mother shows up, but you end up kind of finding out that the mother isn't so it was Penny's grandma. She's kind of more of a figment for Penny to hold on to, but they're just learning more and more about getting into the stream world. And now they've taken the next step where they have connected with this tree that takes them to the stream world, and they're stuck there until they save Penny. And so if they get hurt in it before, if they got hurt, they could just come back out of the dream world and go back and forth. Well, now they're basically stuck there until they resolve and save their daughter. It's a 10-issue series, and we're on issue 4, and things have been really good. So really enjoying it. So Danny, new year, new me. Let's talk about retcons for a second. I even went ahead and looked it up, went to the old Oxford Dictionary, and a retcon, it's something used mainly in film, television, and fictional work. It's a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. And I kind of feel like that last part's mainly used in comics, where we have an inconsistency and something gets brought up, changed, sometimes something scrapped all to begin with, and then we come up with some new ideas or add some new things that make characters come back to life, something that we like. So any retcons out there, or just any type of new things that have happened in comics that jump out to you that you like?
I think that the two biggest ones for me was when they switched a lot of characters over to Vertigo. That was right when that was my prime Burnout Kid stuff, and everything Moody and the Cure, and the Smiths and all that, and just the Doom Patrol and the Swamp Thing and Shade, Sandman, Hellblazer. I mean, it all had its own vibe, and you could just pretty much just read that. And they had so many cool mini series with a lot of those things, Sebastian O and things like that. And I love that quite a bit. They actually both for me were DC, and the other one
before you go on, wasn't Kid Eternity one of those?
Kid Eternity was a part of that. Yeah, but Books of Magic. There was so much cool stuff that came from that. And I wish they'd bring that back. And Animal Man was always a cool character. Yeah. They made him so dark when Morrison took him over, and it was so good. All that stuff was and Shade to me was I identified with that character. I love that one the most. So that was always my favorite. And then probably the other thing, which was massive, was just when they changed the whole DC universe. They went with the whole 52 thing and started over at number 1, and that was pretty sweet with that. You get Court of Owls, that still resonates today. That was
Right.
one of the coolest things that Snyder brought into the mythos of Batman, that there was this whole group under Gotham, which is fantastic. And at the beginning they had that, each first issue had that Pandora was in one panel that you kind of looked for, like a Where's Waldo thing. And they really did that well in the beginning. I think it got away from them in the end as things shift and years move on. But I thought the New 52 was such a great idea in the beginning. So those were my two favorite.
I did enjoy, speaking of Pandora, it was one thing that was kind of upsetting. They did a really nice thing where they said, I believe it was Phantom Stranger was actually supposed to be Judas.
Yeah.
And then Question was the third part of the Trinity of sin. And they never really said who it was. And I did read somewhere they were going to say he was a narcissist, like a Greek figure, Narcissi or something like that. And I was like, wow, that could be so cool. And they just never developed those ones. But yeah, the new 52, I mean, come on, everything they did, it wasn't all gangbusters or anything, but they pulled some great storylines out of it. The other one was the crime syndicate coming over from.
Oh, when they did that in
3.
Justice League, man, that was such a great story. Yeah, they had Forever Evil and the bad guys won, and all the sweet lenticular covers. So yeah, probably the first, because that was probably around the 24s, so probably the first three years of that stuff, which is strong.
Yeah, I think 23 was the month of evil taking over. The bad guys on the covers and their stories and origins. So yeah. A couple for me. I actually wanted to kind of stay out of DC because I'm usually the DC guy, especially since you took a couple really good ones. The Bucky not dying and becoming the Winter Soldier, that was
yeah, that was awesome. Yeah,
I didn't read the Ed Brubaker stuff, but using him in blew my mind watching Civil War and the Winter Soldier movie from Captain America from Marvel did it. It was so great. And then another one was for me, Supreme. Now, when Supreme was out, Image, it was basically Rob Liefeld wanted to do a jerk Superman is kind of how it was put out. And he was doing a good job of it. And right around the issue 40s, he somehow convinced Alan Moore to take over. And Alan Moore said, all right, but I get to do whatever I want and you can't stop me. And he said, fine. So he retconned Supreme and actually made him like Superman, but his own version of it, Alan Moore's version of Superman. But the biggest twist of it was in the story where he did it all, he had Supreme watching his other storylines unfold. And it was like Supreme watching Supreme. It was just a really cool idea, and it came across in the pages really well. So those would be two big ones for me.
Yeah, that is the cool thing in comics, like you say. So there's always renewal. I know bothers a lot of people with a lot of the resets now all the time, but I think that also is kind of cool that you can always kind of jump in at a new number one or a new starting point and see what's going on.
Some of the better ones DC have done, like the original Crisis on Infinite Earth, the 12-part series, where they did some changes, but they did it well. Some of the other ones that were a little hit and miss. Final Crisis wasn't the best, but I really think Doomsday Clock, kind of put a bow on the whole New 52, coming back into these worlds together, and Jeff Johns just did a great job, and Gary Frank's artwork with it. So I just wish it would have came out on time and not took 3 years, but that's what, Jeff Johns ended up doing, it is then work with DC, unfortunately. But so speaking of Jeff Johns, okay, it seems like we're big fans of the Ghost Machine stuff, but
yeah.
What do we got coming out this week that you're looking forward to?
As far as I think with that, we just get Geiger this week. But as far as other things, excited with the DC, we get Aquaman gets a series. He hasn't had one in a while. So I'm always like, I see what they decide to do with him. That's talking about a guy who gets a volume after volume after volume through, I got to believe probably volume 12, 14, if you include a mini series here, but excited to see what they do with him. Purgatory, a cool character from Chaos Days, coming back into the Dynamite thing for a miniseries. Completely different, but I love the cartoon. Zootopia is getting its own miniseries from Dynamite. Just the bunny's funny to me. And Lucky Devils, so local guy Ryan Brown and writer Charles Soule doing another story. They did 8 Billion Genies last year, which everybody loved. So I'm sure this one's going to have just as great a reception. And the last one, just the cover alone, because Mr. Campbell did it, but also Magic's a great character. Magic from Marvel. That one looks pretty good as well.
Magic is one of my favorite characters. I mentioned it last week when you asked me about the X-Men books. Magic, Ilyana Rasputin has always been one of my favorites. When they started her, they did that whole Inferno storyline back in the day, and she was a major person from it, Madeline Pryor and her demon self. It was just so well done, and there's always been that conflict inside of her. And the New Mutants movie they did, which was, I enjoyed it. It was more, people call it a horror movie, but I don't really think of it horror, but there was some jump scare stuff in it. But Anna Joy Taylor was just brought her to life. She was so good as Ilyana Rasputin.
Oh yeah, she's good in anything, man. Menu's just she's an awesome actress.
What a great movie, man.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, just a couple. Uncanny X-Men #8 is the finish of the Radon Gray Mulligan. Looks like we're going to find out who is in Inmate X in that cell. I've got a theory that it's going to be Mr. Sinister, but we'll see. And then Action Comics 1082, John Ridley is now taking over. The Mark Waid storyline is finished, and Inaki Miranda is now the artist, and they've done some stuff. They did Nightwing Annual 3, I believe, and some other things. Good artwork, so we'll see how that goes. A Major Disaster returns to Metropolis and was a person who redeemed himself, but he's back to his old ways, and Superman is going to get involved, but I think he needs a visit from Clark Kent to have a little conversation with him to talk about his wayward ways. So we're looking forward to some books this week. Yeah, Lucky Devils, that was mine too. I had that picked. So great minds think alike sometimes.
Yes.
So I didn't know it was a local guy, so that's even better. So
yeah, he actually, when he was a kid with Mr. Costa, both those guys used to shop at the store. And in fact, next month or the month after, they have a Godzilla book that they're both cooperating on. So it's cool to see
great.
some of these guys. I knew them before, That's just, yes.
Yeah. So Danny, why don't you tell us about that subscription club?
Membership's free all this month over in Fraser and Rochester Hills. It's usually $20, but you get 25% off the titles you're on and 10% everything else. And right now the store's been chaos, and it bothers me with the whole diamond thing. But we'll have it all squared away by February, I'm sure, and everything will be back to normal, whatever normal is, Mr. Brian. So yes, so yeah, stop on by, join the club. We'd love to have you. Some people been with us the whole 43 years.
Folks, just a little PSA. Danny didn't know I was going to do this, and hopefully he doesn't get mad at me for it. But, Danny and those guys, they do a great job, and he takes it to heart when people are missing books. And when guys come in and get mad, that really, we're collectors and passionate about this, and it happens. But this is beyond the control of Danny and the fellas at the store. So, hey, let's give them a break, and it's getting straightened out. And whenever the books come in, we always get them right away, and they're in our boxes. And if something's missed, we always find it. So just let's get positivity back in this world. That's going to be my message for the year. Danny, I know you've been pushing it for a while.
Man. Yes. Growing up with hippie parents and the love of Bob Marley, I can't be any other way.
So that wraps up another issue of the Comix Corner Podcast with B-Lar and Danny P. We are part of the SPDM Podcast Crew and would like to thank the CLZ app for their sponsorship. Please check out the CLZ app when you get a chance. Check us out on our social media at Comix Corner Podcast on Facebook and Comix Corner Pod, all one word, on Instagram. And as always, Comix is with an X. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Read well, everybody.
All right, listeners. So during the podcast, sometimes things get away from me, and I forgot to give you guys the new ones for today. So here we go. Boom Studios, Jim Henson Presents #1. Dark Horse Studios, Those Not Afraid. As we said, DC is doing Aquaman #1. Dynamite Entertainment, Altered State, Purgatory Grindhouse #1. Green Hornet, Miss Fury #1. And Zootopia. Image Comics has Death of Copra and Lucky Devils. Marvel's doing a Daredevil Unleash Hell Red Band #1, Magic #1. What If Mickey and Friends Became the Fantastic Four? New Champions #1. And this week we are having Galactus Transform Gambit. Ani Press has Cruel #1. And there's your #1s for the week.